For lighting, I use a AA mini mag light with the LED conversion. And one thing to remember, my camera also uses AA batteries, and I use rechargeables for them. I have about 12 rechargeables with me on this trip. In the flashlight itself, I always put alkaline batteries because they tend to come back to life. But when batteries stop working, the rechargeables stop working completely in the camera, and this pair is stone dead in the camera, if you drop them in your mag light, you can see they work just fine. So never give up on a dead battery. Now the Rayovacs go into my dwindling stack of camera batteries, and the dead rechargeables go into my light. Since somebody was bound to ask what blades I took along on this trip, the number one blade I take on every trip is a 16-inch Tramontina machete. I use the machete for just about everything, even stuff you wouldn't bother using a machete for, like the little stuff, just because it's there and I reach for it first whenever I need a blade. I also carry my Zebu folder. These are a Brazilian made folding knife. They're a slip joint. They don't lock, but it has a very stiff spring. I like these a lot because they're Brazilian, they're native, and they sharpen easily in the field, and I've never had one let me down. In fact, I like them enough that I made a special little belt carrier for it. This is just wet formed leather, and the knife snaps in there, and the other side is a magnesium block fire starter or a dome tool, and that and my machete stay on my belt all the time. I also have in my little belt pouch kit my Victorinox Huntsman. Great knife. I use this thing all the time, mainly for repairs, for cutting up food. And no matter what else you carry in the bush, if you just add "and Amora," you will be glad you did. This is the Triflex Craftsman, which I like very much. It's a little bit more robust than the stainless steel Swedish Army knife. This is the one with the black handle, and they're just a fantastic knife for $10. For fire starting, in addition to the magnesium block that I always have on my belt, I also have a Kershaw fire steel. It's just a regular metal match, fire steel, ferro rod, whatever you want to call it. But with it, I always have this little tube of cotton which has been treated with Vaseline. That's what's in here. And sometimes I have to resort to that to get a fire going. No shame in that. Great little tool. In my Altoids tin, which stays in my pocket all the time, I have a spark light and 4 of the little tinders that go with it. There's also several matches in the Altoids tin which are waterproofed. And in the little pouch of my canteen case, I always carry a mini Bic, and that has been my go-to fire lighter for forever, because I always know where my canteen is. It always lays next to my head at night. I have also got a set of potable aqua plus in there, and the 3 items fit very nicely. So that way I've got a way to light fire and boil water with the canteen cup at all times. For navigation, I use a Recta DP2 box compass. It's the kind with the little flip-out mirror. I like this one because it has sights on the top. It's very easy to take a sighting with. And just because sometimes you're out after dark, you might get lost, I have a little LED light which always stays with my compass, plus a Fox 40 whistle, because if I'm lost, these are the 2 items I want to have around my neck if I didn't use the compass correctly. Also in the Altoids kit, I've got a backup system for the same thing, which is a small medallion compass and yet another LED light for signaling and finding my way in the dark if I'm lost. Other items in the Altoids tin are a Starflash signal mirror, moleskin, Um, some more cotton treated with Vaseline, scalpel blade, pretty much your basic PSK contents. My sleep setup on this trip has been basically a bivy sack, U.S. Army poncho liner, and the poncho. I haven't had to use the poncho other than for carrying grass, but the three of these combined together with a little bit of paracord, you can set up a shelter just about anywhere. With the grass for insulation against the ground, with the rock overhang, I didn't even need the poncho. It didn't rain. It doesn't look like it's going to rain. But with these three things, you can put the poncho liner, the bivy bag, and the poncho and some paracord in a day pack. It doesn't take up much room at all. And there's no excuse not to have adequate shelter because, well, it's just going to be a day hike and I might not be spending the night out there anyway. So I'll just go light. You are going light. You're going with a poncho, a bivy bag, and a poncho liner. I've used this system now for 2 nights. I'm going to be spending my 3rd night tonight in it, and I've been fine. And this is wintertime in Brazil, which isn't the worst isn't the worst winter weather you can imagine. It's more like late summer, sort of like September in the United States would be. But this is a good system. It lets you take advantage of the natural opportunities you have. Any natural shelter is improved with a bivy bag, a poncho, and a poncho liner. I don't consider what I'm doing here hardcore wilderness survival. I'm just making use of nature and what resources there are available here. I am carrying basically what I would carry in a day pack or in a survival pack for this area, which is adequate clothing for the season, a shelter, a minimalist lightweight shelter, modern means to light a fire, modern means to purify water, modern means to collect water. You're hearing the word modern means? Okay, survival equipment is all about that. Primitive skills I look at as a completely different skill set. It is awesome to know how to make fire with friction. It is awesome to know how to collect and purify water by boiling and make a bark container and make a debris hut and do all those things. But you have to take into account that all of those things take a lot of time. And survival equipment, in my mind, a lot of it is just cutting down on the time factor to get you through that first night. If you have a bivy bag, a poncho liner, and a poncho, whatever expedient shelter you try and set up, it will be a better shelter because of those 3 items. If you have to collect water and boil it, it will be a lot faster when you have a canteen cup and a lighter right there with your canteen. Whatever you have to do in the bush, primitive skills are good things to know, but they're not good things to depend upon because they take time. Also, very few of them are very practical if you're wounded. If you broke a leg, broke an ankle, broke a finger, some of those techniques are going to be very hard to do. Therefore, the wilderness survival equipment which I carry is minimal. It makes use of I do make use of the natural resources that I have around me. But I'm also not kidding myself. According to my own head knowledge, the more you know, the less you carry. That's true. The more you know to carry a Bic, in my mind. The more you know you can't get it done in a half hour of fading sunlight in the drizzle with a broken knee. It's just a matter of knowing your limitations and knowing how to pack a pack.